We turn now to Mississippi, where 6 white former police officers who called themselves the Goon Squad have pleaded guilty to raiding a home and torturing 2 black men earlier this year, after first trying to cover up their actions. Court records show the deputies raided a home in Braxton, Mississippi, after a white neighbor of one of the officers called them to complain there were black men staying there. The officer texted the others, quote, "Are y'all available for a mission?" That night, without a warrant, the officers burst into the home, handcuffed, beat, tasered the 2 men, Michael Corey Jenkins and Eddie Terrell Parker. Also sexually abused them with a sex toy with shouting racial slurs. One of the officers put a gun in Jenkins' mouth for a mock execution and pulled the trigger.
They left him lying in a pool of blood, gathered on the porch of the house to discuss how to cover it up.
Michael Corey Jenkins was actually charged with a felony based on methamphetamine the officers said they found in the raid. But records show that was a lie, and the charge was dropped. The deputies planted drugs to devise an excuse for the raid and also stole surveillance video from the house. Their body cameras were off. Named Goon Squad, quote, because of their willingness to use excessive force and not to report it. Deputies were linked to at least 4 violent attacks on black men since 2019. 2 of the men died.
This has been occurring for a long time under the leadership of Sheriff Brian Bailey, who should be the subject of criminal investigation also. They have been getting away with this so long that they felt emboldened to act in such a radical and callous way on that night of January 24th, 2023. Now, this is the first time that a white Mississippi police officer has ever been held criminally responsible for harming a black person. And we know that plenty of police brutality has occurred not only in Rankin County under Brian Bailey, but throughout the state of Mississippi. Hunter Elwood, the shooter who didn't just shoot Michael Jenkins in his mouth, he placed the gun inside Michael Jenkins' mouth and held it for an extended period of time, almost up to a minute, before he intentionally shot Michael Jenkins in his mouth, attempting to kill him. If they would not have participated in a cover-up around Damian Cameron's death, all of the evidence that I'm saying and all of the gruesome photos of the neck injuries and the hemorrhages of the eyes bulging out of his head, the autopsy finding was mysteriously undetermined. The autopsy itself is missing certain information, in that Rankin County and Brian Bailey refused to provide the state medical examiner with information to reach a proper conclusion, because they were all protecting the officers from criminal prosecution. Brian Bailey has been a part of this. No, he didn't just not train them, he has participated in acts of excessive force with his department, according to the courts. When Hunter Elwood shot Pierre Woods in Rankin County on the ground, and he gunned him and he shot him 9 times with his rifle, and the man was no threat to him, Sheriff Bailey was on the scene, and a federal judge ruled that Bailey could not have qualified immunity because he ratified and watched it all go on in person. Brian Bailey has known about this. Many of these criminals were on duty up until June 1st, only through the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation and U.S. Department of Justice leader Kristen Clark and her Southern District in Mississippi, who've done a great job. Only through their efforts has Brian Bailey, sheriff, trying to come to some remorse. He has not even apologized to the victims. Just like these deputies said, they didn't want any black men living in the area. The mere fact that there were black men in this area, that they were going to carry out this mission, and they actually waterboarded the 2 men you see now. They had them on their backs. They had them handcuffs. They had them intimidated, and they were pouring milk, liquid sports and grease all over their faces in this insane interrogation and intimidation act. Can you imagine law enforcement with dildos and sexual devices in their possession, attempting and putting it in the mouths? I hate to say this, that happened to the brothers, but we gotta know their pain and suffering. To take a dildo and to shove it in the mouths of handcuffed and bound men, and then waterboard them like that on the ground, and then hurl eggs at them, and then make them strip naked in the shower to try to clean this mess up, strip these men naked in front of these criminals. You know, it just never fails to ignite my passion, and therefore tactically and strategically, we are after Rankin County and we won't let up.